Good evening and welcome to NTA News Top Table. Being Wednesday, we have an hour and a half of stories from different parts of the country with focus on issues confronting Nigerians in their daily strive for survival. We'll keep tabs with developing stories while not losing track of breaking news in different parts of the world. Tonight,
I apologize. Take full responsibility, not just in words.
Jump question. Registrar in tears over results, apologizes to candidates and parents as over 379,000 affected candidates will have to retake the examinations. And still on education, heat poses key health challenges to pupils in schools in Kebbi State and environs. On livestock, federal government to recruit 37,000 women and youths to engage in livestock development. And on security, Nigerian Navy disconnects 2 wellheads used to siphon crude oil, destroys 9 illegal refining sites in River State. And on business, African Development Bank commits to funding projects in Nigeria. We'll hear of that and more from Benny Adams, while Badia Deleye on sports has a preview of the African Under-20 Football Championship semi-final between Nigeria and South Africa tomorrow. It's a full package tonight. As we say on this shift, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Yenri John. This is News Extra. Welcome. Let's hit the road now as Petrobras, the state oil company of Brazil, is seeking to resume business in Nigeria's oil sector with a specific interest in frontier deep water acreage. This was part of the discussions during the interministerial review meeting chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, to coordinate Nigeria's preparations for the second session of the Strategic Dialogue Mechanism scheduled for June 2025. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jabrila reports.
As the economic reforms of the Tinubu administration take root, the company, which had previously wound down operations in Nigeria at the Agbani field, is now actively engaging with Nigerian authorities as part of broader efforts to revitalize bilateral cooperation ahead of the 2025 Nigeria-Brazil Strategic Dialogue Mechanism. And this review meeting is ahead of the second session of the strategic dialogue. Vice President Kashim Shettima noted that 2025 represents a critical moment of interface with Brazil, emphasizing that the convergence of international events provides Nigeria a unique opportunity to advance its interests on the global stage.
And this convergence of events provides us with unique opportunity to advance our interests at the global stage. I'm quite thrilled with the advancements we have made as per tidying of our acts on the MOU with the Brazilian government. That shows some seriousness on our own part. This time around, there's a sea change in our attitude, in our disposition, and in our commitment.
As we're aware, Petrobras was active in Nigeria. They pulled out of the Agbami field, so they're no longer present. I had a meeting with them. They are very keen on coming back into Nigeria. And what they've said specifically is they want frontier acreage, deep water acreage. And this is where they specialize.
To establish partnership with Brazilian pharmaceutical companies for local drug manufacturing, joint research in tropical and subtropical diseases. One of the major pharmaceutical companies, a privately held company, FPG, offered to invest $240 million to establish a pharmaceutical production plant here in Nigeria.
We have been able to finalize the Nigerian Film Corporation Audio-Visual Co-Production MOU, which is very important because we're going to have Festac at 50 next year, and we really want the Brazilians to participate fully. And the National Gallery of Art MOU on joint exhibition.
The strategic relationship between Brazil and Nigeria has been growing stronger and stronger, especially with the recent signing of the GIP, which seeks to extend or transform through technological advances and climate-smart agriculture that will impact on the agricultural and food security of Nigeria.
Vice President Shettima commended the ministers for their passion in pursuing Nigeria's national interest. Brazil is hosting so many global events this year, from the BRICS Summit to the G20 Summit and COP30. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Vice President Kashim Shettima says the difficult but very crucial decisions taken by the Tinubu administration are targeted at engineering an economy that works for the Nigerian people. The Vice President, who stated this during the 15th Mechanical Engineering Distinguished Lecture at the Shehu Yaradua Center in Abuja, likened the art of governance to the ability of engineers who work with machines and structures to transform theories into measurable outcomes. Reflecting on the theme of the lecture, the imperative of engineering strategies for the planning of national budget, Vice President Shettima says it aligns with the thinking being institutionalized by the Tinubu administration in budgeting for transformation.
National budget invites us to revisit our budgetary architecture through a new lenses. What if we approach the national budget the way an engineer approaches a machine?
Nigeria has tremendous potential for socio-economic development, but we need to address challenges and seize opportunities to achieve this sustainable and inclusive growth, deploying all our specializations in winning the country desired destination.
This day reflects our commitment on aligning engineering practice with the evolving global agenda on ocean sustainability, climate resilience, and economic diversification.
Again, State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports that the 15th lecture also provides a platform for interaction amongst professionals on a topic that resonates with contemporary realities of the country. Let's look at education now, as the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has issued a formal apology to candidates affected by technical challenges during the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME, in some parts of the country. Registrar of the board, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, tenders the apology at a press conference in Abuja while addressing public concerns and clarifying issues surrounding the recently released UTME results. Olainka Ojo feeds us.
I apologize and take full responsibility, not just in words.
The error, according to JAMB, occurred as a result of negligence on the part of one of the service providers that saw 206,610 candidates from 65 CBT centers in Lagos zone affected and 173,387 candidates from 92 examination centers from 5 southeast states also affected.
For the pre-Tuesday glitch, the service providers concerned with the result were deployed to effect the patch, but there were patch errors in some centers, that's some centers, for the first 3 or 4 days in only 2 locations. In the process of rectifying the issue, the technical personnel deployed by our service provider for LAG, Lagos and Southeast zones, inadvertently failed to update some of the delivery servers. Regrettably, this oversight went undetected prior to the release of the results.
Professor Oloyede informed the gathering that the board has decided to reconduct examinations for all affected candidates.
All the candidates affected in the 157 centers of the 882 be contacted to retake their examinations. These candidates are to be contacted through text messages addressed to their registered phone number from tomorrow. their email addresses, their profiles, and phone calls by JAMB. They are directed to reprint their examinations.
The board, however, assures candidates that it remains true to its guiding principles of integrity. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFund, is transparent in the disbursement of funds to beneficiaries, and there is no reported case of misappropriation. Minister of Education Dr. Tunji Alausa made a clarification while briefing the media on the outcome of a meeting with the National Universities Commission, NELFund, and the Vice Chancellors of some universities in Abuja. Zenret Dingmun reports.
Reacting to an investigation by the ICPC on alleged misappropriation of funds in NELFund, the Education Minister sets the record straight.
There's no fraud in that fund. What the issue we had was some process issue that had to do with the timeline for disbursement of funds. Timeline from when funds get deposited into the university's account, from when the students are notified. But as I said earlier on, we're working to better streamline those processes.
Dr. Alausa says a committee has been set up to rework and enhance the guidelines of operations for NELFund to ensure discrepancies do not occur.
They would come up with clear nomenclature on the charges that each university will charge, so that we're all talking about the same thing. If we say this is boarding charges, we know it's boarding charges. Of course, the university will decide the amount. Those amounts are not going to be universal. And once we do this, all this problem that the major problem we've just spoken about will be eliminated.
The committee is expected to submit its report to the ministry in 3 weeks for necessary action. In Abuja, Zen Redding Moon, NTA News.
And still talking education, with temperatures soaring higher by the day, as high as 43 degrees and above in Birni Kebbi, the Kebbi state capital. Life is very far from normal, especially for children who are vulnerable to diseases like meningitis. In this report, Abdul Jalil Mohammed Bawa finds out how children are coping in the scorching heat season in Birni Kebbi.
It is a general concession among the people of Kebbi State that the 2025 heat season has been one of the hottest in the history of the state. This extreme heat has so far led to 2,292 suspected cases of meningitis, out of which children account for 991 cases.
Majority of the cases are between the age of 1 to 29 years. These are the higher cases that are affected. It affects all age group, but the most affected group is 1 to 29 years.
Honestly, the heat is disturbing him seriously. In fact, if there is no fan, he can't even sleep. Right now, abscesses are all over his body, and we are just lucky that it's reduced.
Medical experts recommend prioritizing hydration, limiting outdoor activities during the hottest hours, wearing light-colored breathable clothing, and staying in air-conditioned spaces to mitigate the effect of hot weather on children.
This organism, meningococcus, the one that causes meningitis, is in the nostril. Some people have it in their nose, but it doesn't disturb them. Whereas some people, the moment they inhale it, it goes down, and before you know it, either leads to pneumonia or meningitis. So mostly it's meningitis. So if you pack children in a room, and children, they are fond of coughing, sneezing, and they sneeze on themselves, and that person inhale those air that come out, of course, is prone to having meningitis.
Some families have adopted sleeping outside to beat the heat, but end up with other illness such as malaria. Medical experts are, however, recommending sleeping in well-ventilated areas and reducing congestion, not forgetting the mosquito nets to help minimize the impact on children.
Meanwhile, some individuals are making great business from the whole situation. by selling a sachet of ice between 300 to 400 naira, more than the amount of one pack of sachet water sold for 250 naira. In Birnin Kabi, Abdujani Mohammed Bawa, NTA News.
Now let's head to Kano, where the government is set to recruit 17,600 security guards and 4,000 teachers to strengthen safety and improve learning in public schools. Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf made the announcement during the distribution of instructional materials worth 2.8 billion naira to public schools across the state. Abdullahi Mustafa has the report.
Educational administrators, teachers and students convened to witness an educational milestone, the distribution by Kano State Government of 2.8 billion naira worth of instructional materials to the 44 local government areas. Laboratory equipment, sportswear and kits, books, attendance registers and laptop computers were the items distributed to enhance both academic and extracurricular activities.
Every child deserves opportunities to learn and to excel, regardless of background or location.
Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf announced plans to engage 17,600 security guards to protect educational infrastructure and equipment. He also directed for the screening and absorption of 4,000 teachers from the Better Education Service Delivery for All BESDA program and approved the release of 200 million naira in vehicle loans for public school teachers. Governor Yusuf enjoined school administrators to ensure proper use and maintenance of the materials, as government will closely monitor implementation to ensure that the resources reach their intended beneficiaries. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
Let's look at the National Assembly quickly now, as the Federal Capital Territory statutory budget for 2025, put at 1.7 trillion naira, transmitted by President Tinubu to the Senate for consideration and approval, has passed first and second reading and referred to the relevant committees for further legislative action. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on this and other proceedings at plenary.
President Tinubu's letter transmitting the budget bill was read at the commencement of plenary, and it immediately went through first and second reading.
1,289,690,124,776 naira only is for capital projects for the service of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja.
Senate leader Upeyemi Bamidele highlighted that essentially the proposed spending prioritizes infrastructure developments.
I've seen the infrastructural budget, 1.2 trillion. It would be good if the Minister of the FCT takes note of the urgent need to provide services, infrastructure services to the adjoining areas.
I can see that a lot has been budgeted for the education sector, which I must commend the Minister.
The Honorable Minister secured an approval from the President to build two police stations in each area councils.
I believe strongly that the President has done well, just like Senator Nengi observed, that in the last 2 years of his administration, FCT has changed, and so it will need support.
Senate passed for second reading to establish Rice Development Council of Nigeria, sponsored by Senator Adamu Aliru, and also confirmed appointments of 5 resident electoral commissioners for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. As the Senate prepares to hold a summit on national security, it has set in motion a strategy to enable it better understand the dynamics of cybersecurity and telecommunications.
We have situations where in the largely unregulated social media, somebody with access to 10 megabytes of data will sit down somewhere, particularly in the area of artificial intelligence, concoct some stories, put somebody's head on somebody else's body, and push it out, leading to distress amongst people.
We need to be designing our systems with that cybersecurity in mind. There are different conversations going on around having the national cybersecurity architecture, around having online harm protection bill, and so on.
Strengthening Nigeria's digital resilience and cybersecurity will form the agenda of the proposed security summit. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
And still in the National Assembly, but looking at the green side now, in a decisive move to curb the spread of a deadly disease, the House of Representatives is calling for nationwide mandatory immunization against diphtheria. The call came after a motion of urgent public importance raised by Representative Bitrus Lowry. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo has all the details.
To the Committee on Public Petitions.
It was the second plenary of the week. Rising above the day's agenda was a growing national concern on diphtheria, drawing the members' immediate focus. Representative Bitrus Lowry moved the motion he described as critical and deserving of swift, coordinated action to save lives.
The outbreak's current resurgence poses significant threats to Nigeria, already overburdened public health system. That in Africa, nations such as Niger, Gabon, and Mauritania have reported outbreaks with only a handful of confirmed deaths due to effective vaccination coverage.
Those against you say nay. There is of it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Health Institutions and Information and National Orientation for further legislative action. The House also called on authorities to intensify security for victims of attacks and displacement in Isa, Sabon Birni, Federal Constituency of Sokoto State, moved by Representative Mohammed Bargaja. Members also resolved to investigate what they described as irregularities in the remittance of 2% surcharge on import of raw materials Research and Development Council by the Nigeria Customs Service and the Federal Ministry of Finance as provided by law. This followed a motion by Aliu Abdullahi. National Maintenance Agency, National Commission for Refugees to provide food and non-food items to the survival of the family of the deceased.
To call on the Federal Ministry of Finance to ensure accurate calculation and immediate remittance of all areas.
The North Central, South-South, Southwest, and Southeast Development Commission's amendment bills seeking to expand the number of directors were passed. The bill for an act to establish the National Vocational and Entrepreneurship Institute JOS, Plateau State, sponsored by Representative Daniel Asama Ago, passed second reading.
Have a common purpose. It is designed to expand the directorates of these four commissions.
An Entrepreneurship Institute JOS, Plateau State, to provide for full and part-time courses of instruction in different fields of studies. The Counterfeit and Fake Drugs and Unwholesome Processed Food Amendment Bill passed first reading. Colleagues, from the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Let's look away from the National Assembly now as the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has reaffirmed the readiness of the executive arm of government to collaborate closely with the National Assembly, the media and other critical stakeholders in the ongoing review of the Cybercrime Act. This was at the end of a meeting between the minister and the American ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Richard Mills, in Abuja. The government spokesman is certain that the goal of the collaboration is to ensure the emergence of a law that reflects broad consensus and is acceptable to all parties involved, and assured them that the Tinubu administration remains committed to upholding freedom of expression and press freedom as fundamental pillars of the nation's democracy.
To the ambassador, and I've also told him and reiterated the government's commitment to continue to uphold freedom of expression and not to limit space for journalists to do their work. We will continue to uphold that. We believe that journalism and the media, are all integral part of democracy, and there is no democratic experience that can succeed without the fourth estate of the realm. And so the commitment of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to press freedom and to freedom of expression is there and it's being upheld. We will continue to to uphold that.
I have just had a very good private discussion with the minister regarding freedom of the press here in Nigeria, his commitment to that space for expression and for freedom of press. And I welcomed his statement on May 3rd on World Press Freedom Day that reiterated this government's commitment to the freedom of press. We also discussed upcoming consideration of reforms to the Cybercrime Act. As always, the ministry is the voice for journalism and for freedom of press. And so it's always valuable to have a moment or two to talk with the minister.
Correspondent Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports that this is the second official engagement between the U.S. ambassador and the minister that prominently featured on matters relating to press freedom in Nigeria. If you just joined us, this is News Extra. More news after this break. Thank you for staying with us. Let's head to the courtroom now as counsel to the leader of the proscribed indigenous peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has commenced cross-examination of the second prosecution witness, a personnel of the Department of the Security Service, in the alleged terrorism acts preferred against him. Judiciary correspondent Austin Anyebe reports.
Before the cross-examination, the second prosecution witness was led in evidence by the prosecution counsel Adeboyega Awomolo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, where the death certificate of Ahmed Gulak, alleged to be killed by hoodlums suspected to be members of IPOB, was tendered and admitted in evidence. The defense counsel, who asked the second prosecution witness several questions, sought to know why the face of the witness was not shown in the interview conducted with the defendant, but he said it was not necessary as he must not be visible. The defense counsel sought to know how long the defendant was kept in detention before the interview. The witness said he did not know. On whether he knows how many times the charge preferred against the defendant were amended by the court and the contents of the charge, the second prosecution witness declined knowledge of the charge. On whether he knows or he is aware that the defendant was kept in solitary confinement, which could have been responsible for his aggression, the witness said he is not aware as he did not say so during the interview. The defense counsel proceeded to know whether the witness knows the required period a suspect can be kept in custody according to international legal instruments. The witness said between 24 and 48 hours. He sought to know whether he is aware that investigation into the alleged crime commenced before the Attorney General of the Federation wrote to the DSS. He said he was not aware. He was asked whether he conducted any other investigation on the matter aside the interview, and he said yes. Having covered substantial grounds in the cross-examination, the defense counsel, Kanu Agabi, sought a short adjournment to enable him obtain some document from the police to enable him proceed with trial. This was, however, granted by Justice James Omotosho, who adjourned the matter to 21st and 22nd of this month for continuation of hearing.
The defense got to a point where they needed documents to confront the witness, and those documents have been applied for. The CTC have been applied for, but not obtained yet. So based on that, an adjournment was granted.
The presiding judge, however, sought to know whether the defense counsel, Kanu Agabi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and his team were denied access to the defendant in the DSS custody, as reported in the social media. But Kanu Agabi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, said he wasn't, as he has a cordial relationship with the service. The judge therefore cautioned the lawyer who uploaded the fake information and urged him to desist henceforth. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
Similarly, following the Supreme Court's verdict that revoked his bail, operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have arrested a Lagos-based socialite and businessman, Fred Ajudua, in Abuja. Ajudua, who is facing trial for allegedly defrauding a Palestinian businessman, Zad Abu Zalaf, of $1.43 million, is in EFCC custody pending his rearraignment in court. The arrest followed the verdict, which overturned the decision of the Court of Appeal Lagos Division that granted Adudua bail on September 10, 2018. The Apex Court ordered his remand in a correctional facility and directed that the case be returned to its original trial judge in the High Court of Lagos State. And away from court-related matters, Seplat Energy Producing Nigeria Limited is a leading independent energy company in the country that successfully concluded the acquisition of Mobil Producing Nigeria in December 2024. This giant stride, the company says, brought about an increase in cash flow earnings, with profit put at over 1.6 trillion naira and an impressive shareholders' returns of 202 naira declaration per unit share, approved by the board of the company at the 12th annual general meeting of the year 2024 and the review held in Lagos. And that report will come to you in the course of this bulletin. Now, let's look at other issues quickly. As the Presidential Initiative for Unlocking the Healthcare Value Chain, PVAC, and the Clinton Health Access Initiative have signed a non-binding memorandum of understanding to establish a cooperative framework for advancing Nigeria's healthcare sector. The national coordinator, Dr. Abdul Mokhtar, welcomed Clinton Health Access Initiative executives to PVAC headquarters in Abuja on Wednesday, establishing a new partnership that aims to mobilize external resources, share technical expertise, and engage stakeholders to evolve a strategic blueprint for targeted investments in the Nigeria healthcare ecosystem. The goal is to create a locally led healthcare value chain in Nigeria to meet demands of Nigeria and West Africa for local production of vaccines, diagnostics and therapeutics at affordable price, as well as strengthen policy framework. Now, still looking at health-related matters, Borno State Government and Healthcare Services. Borno State Government has synergized with the World Health Organization WHO to expand Mogunu General Hospital with the goal of not just reducing health challenges in the region, but eradicating them entirely. Umar Dibarima reports that people of the area are anticipating completion of the project, which promises to deliver nothing short of quality healthcare services.
Once crippled by over a decade of insurgency, Monguno local government is now rising again with renewed hope among inhabitants. This development attracted attention of Borno State Government and World Health Organization to expand Monguno Local Government General Hospital. Borno State Commissioner of Health, Professor Baba Malim Gana, reaffirmed government's commitment to revamp the healthcare sector, pointing out that 15% of the state's budget is allocated to healthcare in view of its importance.
Ultimately, Monguno General Hospital will serve as a nucleus for the northern part of Borno State, where patients can come in for further investigations and further treatment.
Professor Baba Malim Gana also acknowledged the continued support of World Health Organization to the healthcare sector and health needs of Borno residents. On the global front, Dr. Walter Kazadi Molumbo, World Health Organization country representative to Nigeria, stated that World Health Organization is working diligently to mobilize additional resources to complete expansion of the hospital, and assured that before the end of his mission in Nigeria, Monguno General Hospital will be fully operational and equipped with modern facilities to deliver high-quality healthcare services, pledging World Health Organization's continued support to both Borno State and Nigeria as a whole.
We'll build an expansion to the General Hospital here in Monguno, which is part of our interventions in support of the Borno government.
Monguno local government chairman spoke extensively on behalf of the residents, highlighting how the initiative will positively impact lives and contribute to the eradication of health challenges across the council. In Maiduguri, Umar Jimbarima, NTA News.
The Ministry of Livestock Development is set to recruit 37,000 youths and women from the 36 states and the FCT for commercial livestock. Minister of Livestock Development, Idi Mokhtar Meha, give this information at a workshop organized to chart a path for the successful implementation of the presidential initiative on youths and women in livestock development. Yusuf Jika reports.
The Presidential Initiative on Youth and Women in Livestock Development aims to boost livestock production and create employment opportunities for teeming Nigerians. The initiative also empowers participants with training, capacity building programs, access to finance and essential resources to improve on different livestock value chains. The Minister of Livestock Development says there are huge emerging opportunities in the livestock sector, and the gathering is to deliberate on policy and implementation framework that can guide the initiative to succeed.
The strategy is extended to galvanize the entire country. We intend to take 1,000 youths from each state, including Abuja. So we need to go into the selecting criteria, people who have passion, strict profiling, and then identification of those value chains.
Any government that is serious about inclusive development of the country has to accommodate youth and women.
The youth, on the other hand, bring innovation, adaptability, and entrepreneurial energy, qualities we urgently need.
The pilot project now set the stage for the active participation of Nigerian youth to livestock farming for self and national advancement. In Abuja, Yusuf Jika, NTA.
The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, says Nigeria's economy is witnessing a significant turnaround driven by bold reforms, improved coordination and a renewed focus on national priorities. Senator Bagudu notes that the reform-driven economy has seen 4 consecutive quarters of GDP growth, exchange rate stability, and a resurgence in private sector confidence. He adds that foreign and domestic investors have responded positively to government's economic agenda, particularly agriculture, energy, and infrastructure. According to the minister, this renewed interest stems from the administration's commitment to credibility, transparency, and structural change, describing fuel subsidy removal and unifying the foreign exchange market as transformative decisions, restoring fiscal sanity. While acknowledging that the reforms may feel challenging in the short term, the minister likens the process to a necessary fitness regimen. A 2-day sectoral retreat for the ministry's top management staff has opened in Abuja, with the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, saying the strategic thrust of the national policy on marine and blue economy must be fully internalized and translated into well-prioritized programs that align with national expectations and reflect the aspirations of Nigerians. Chukunonso Wamboise has the details.
With the theme, Maximizing Nigeria's Maritime Potential, a blueprint for sustainable blue economy growth, this 2025 sectorial retreat for top management of the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, the Minister, Adegboyega Oyetola, says, presents an opportunity to reflect on the progress made, identify areas of improvement, and agree on the steps necessary to raise the ministry's performance across all areas.
We must eliminate duplication, align priorities, and work as a single ecosystem. From port operations to fishery monitoring, we must deploy tools that improve efficiency and transparency.
While the minister sets the strategic direction, our task as senior management is to translate this direction into measurable progress driven by discipline, collaboration, and a sense of responsibility.
The retreat's technical section focused on framework for an accelerated implementation of the national policy on marine and blue economy, as well as presentations by heads of agencies on the achievements and challenges of realizing the presidential priorities in 2024.
We are constrained, and it's a big challenge for us to be able to, like His Excellency the Minister had mentioned, collaborate with other agencies in the area of technology. So it's a very major challenge.
We have been able to
sustain what is probably the most cardinal and most important area of maritime transport, which is zero incidents in piracy.
At the end of the two-day retreat, the agencies in synergy with the ministry are expected to define and pursue realistic targets in areas such as increasing the marine and blue economy's contribution to Nigeria's GDP within a defined time frame, as well as creating new jobs across core subsectors in the next 1 to 2 years. Chukunonso Nwabueze, NTA News.
In other news, in a decisive move aligned with his renewed hope agenda, President Bola Tinubu has approved a comprehensive review of public procurement thresholds for ministries, departments and agencies of the federal government. The approval follows the recommendations of the Bureau of Public Procurement, BPP, headed by Dr. Adebowale Adedokun. A statement signed by Dr. Adedokun says the development marks a significant stride towards improving budget implementation, streamlining procurement processes, and enhancing public service delivery efficiency in Nigeria's evolving economic landscape. Now time to talk more business, and Benny Adams is here. Benny, feed us.
Thank you, Yere. And now talking business with Nigeria's Dr. Akiwumi Adesina set to take a bow from the African Development Bank. Samuel Munzele, candidate for the presidency, says without Nigeria, discussions on African development lack a central pillar. This is as he acknowledges that Nigeria is indispensable to African development across all sectors. He promises to support Nigeria's growing financial sector with needed infrastructure.
You cannot talk about Africa's development without Nigeria in any sector. I want to make sure that we have a center that is acting as a syndicator-in-chief for complex financial transactions in energy. Nigeria's financial sector is strong. It's got the capacity to help structure financial transactions to support energy deals at scale. Thirdly, I want to make sure that when we have got governments around the continent who have investment deals such as pipelines or new exploration efforts, they have a center that they can come. They have a deal room where they can offer what their pipeline looks like. All of this is designed to make sure that we are being efficient, we're being effective, we're looking at our opportunities and focusing on implementation and execution. I'm tired about talking about Africa's potential. It's time to realize it with simple, practical, straightforward solutions.
Mamiambo brings nearly 3 decades of expertise in development, finance, and resource mobilization with a track record that spans the breadth of the African continent and beyond. A quick look at global updates. Oil prices fell on Wednesday as traders eyed a potential jump in U.S. crude inventories, while OPEC lowered its oil supply growth forecast for producers outside OPEC. But before I get into such details, let's take a look at how much the Naira is trading among its peers in the international market. At this point, you can see from the NAFEM window to the BDC, the U.S. against the Naira against the U.S. dollar today closed at 1,635 Naira. The Great Britain pounds close at 2,150, while the euro is 1,820. If you look at the NAFEM window, the official window, the difference is not much. We have 1,817. And looking at the yuan at this point, the close at BDC at 220, whereas at the official window we have 219.29 kobo. And looking at the US dollar, the NAFEM window too is 1,596.7 kobo at this point. And moving forward, looking at the energy market, the Brent crude is actually doing well. Today, the Brent Bonny Light is actually gained $2.980 to close at 67.55 barrels per day. barrels, okay? Looking at the Brent is down 0.35%, close at lower at 23 cents. The Brent today sold at $66.40. And looking at the Nigerian markets, looking at the stock market at this point in time, the stock market closed on the green, whereas the Tunisia Tune Index also closed on green, and the South Africa GSE Top 40 closed on the red, recording 0.28% depreciation, while the NGX today closed at 0.27% appreciation at 109,059.31 basis points, while the Tunisia Tune Index closed at 0.09% at this point. Iyere, it's over to you.
Well, thanks, Benny, for the updates. Let's quickly take you back to the report on Seplat Energy, where its annual general meeting was held in Lagos, and a profit of 1.6 trillion naira was declared. Let's see that.
The 12th annual general meeting of Seplat Energy Producing Nigeria Unlimited, which adopted the hybrid version, was attended by the leadership, regulators and shareholders of the company. According to the financial statement of the company, the transformational acquisition of Mobile Producing Nigeria Unlimited brought about an increase in production and expansion of its reserves. The acquired assets, the company also disclosed, have a world-class history as some of the most important oil fields in Nigeria. The chairman of the company, Senator Udoma, revealed that the company surpassed its targets and expectations for the financial year 2024 on the review, with increasing cash flow and revenue put at 1.652 trillion naira and the $145 million profit after tax.
We now have a pro forma production of 118,000 barrels a day of oil equivalent, and then a pro forma combined reserves of 886 million barrels of oil equivalent.
Emphatic about the transition and laudable progress achieved by the company, the management of Seplat Energy Producing Nigeria Unlimited, Roger Brown, and others provided insights on the milestone achievements, with production to the market in 2025 expected to be between 120,000 to 140,000 barrels per day.
We're very confident that this year we will continue to grow the business, and particularly we will continue to grow production.
We have started safely and cautiously to restore those idle wells.
In line with the requirements of the Petroleum Industry Act on corporate social responsibility, Seplat Energy Producing Nigeria Unlimited has provided free education and health care to Nigerians. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
Let's pause here. Thank you for remaining with us. The first batch of Nigerian pilgrims for this year's Hajj has left for Makkah, having completed the stipulated period of stay in Medina. Correspondent Jamilu Ibrahim reports that the pilgrims are full of excitement and high expectations as they proceed to the crucial stage of the spiritual journey.
Commencement of the movement of the pilgrims from Medina to Mecca by the Nahakon marks a significant milestone in this year's Hajj operation. The pilgrims, who have spent 4 days in Medina, described their experience in the holy city as distinctive and memorable.
I feel so excited. You know, I believe that this is the only town that gives hospitality 100%.
The people here are actually nice. They are friendly and accommodating.
Really pleasant experience. In fact, those who took care of us, they took care of us very well.
Watching best me, but nothing best me for this Medina. Alhamdulillah, everything there, no man.
The pilgrims are full of joy and excitement as they proceed to a significant stage of the spiritual journey with high expectations.
As a first timer, actually, I have high expectations. I've carried a lot of prayers and I'm hoping to perform more of the ibadat I've done here.
The more than 2,000 pilgrims are largely from Bauchi, Imo, Kebbi, Kogi and Osun states. They are now embarking on more than 400-kilometer journey from Medina to Mecca. This is Zulhulayfa, a principal boundary where all the pilgrims from Medina are required to have a stopover for them to proclaim their intention to perform Hajj or Umrah, as the case may be, before proceeding to Mecca. More batches of the pilgrims will continue to leave for Mecca as soon as they complete the stipulated 4-day period in Medina. Jamilu Ibrahim,
NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, has airlifted over 15,000 pilgrims for this year's Hajj, with more flights airlifting pilgrims from Ogun, Osun and Sokoto leaves for Medina this Wednesday evening. Tokwe Alabi has an update on the airlift of pilgrims for this year's Hajj.
Flynas flight XY8414 departed Lagos to Medina at 17:34 hours on Wednesday with 387 pilgrims and 10 officials, with Ogun having 243 pilgrims, including 156 males and 87 females. Also on board on the same flight are 144 pilgrims from Osun, including 74 males and 70 females. Earlier, Flynas XY8026 departed Sokoto to Medina at 16:05 hours with 424 Sokoto pilgrims and 5 officials, including 264 males and 160 females. Maxair flight NGL 3017 that departed Kano to Medina with 550 pilgrims has landed safely, same as Air Peace flight APK 7910 that departed Ilorin to Medina with 306 pilgrims landed safely around 4:16 Nigerian time. Similarly, UMZA flight UMZ 3410 that departed Kaduna to Medina at 15:18 hours with 312 pilgrims, including 196 males and 116 females, also arrived to Medina safely. At the time of this report, NACON Command and Control Center in Abuja announced a total airlift of 14,552 pilgrims from 36 total flights. In the meantime, the lower part of the Kaba's Kiswa has been raised and replaced with a white cotton cloth, symbolizing the commencement of the Hajj season. Tokwe Alabi, NTA News.
And still on flight, but not related to the Hajj, the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, in response to a statement from the U.S. State Department suggesting Nigerian airports are generally unsafe, says it does not concur with the assessment. The Director of Public Affairs and Family Assistance, Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, Bimbo Oluwumi Oladeji, in a statement notes the Director General of the NSIB, Captain Alex Bade, acknowledges that challenges such as perimeter fencing and instances of wildlife intrusion exists at some airports globally, including in the United States, and not unique to Nigeria. Regarding the rare recent incident in Asaba, where an aircraft was reported to have encountered animals on the runway, the DG clarifies that the aircraft was fine and continued its journey to Abuja without any damage. An investigation into the accident involving the late Herbert Wigwe helicopter crash, which occurred on February 9, 2024 in the United States, Captain Bade corrected the assertion that the NSIB worked side by side with the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, saying NSIB was only an interested party and was kept abreast of the process by the NTSB, who led the investigation in the U.S. While the U.S. NTSB investigation report citing pilot disorientation as primary cause of the crash and the violation of flight protocols, among others, NSIB expresses different view, highlighting systematic failure and that the blame shouldn't be placed solely on the pilot, but rather on the system that failed to mitigate risks. Let's see other news now. As former head of State General Yakubu Gowon says the military has, over the years, played a critical role in preserving democratic governance in West Africa. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that General Gowon stated this at an event organized by the Historical Society of Nigeria in Abuja.
Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Since the return of democracy in Nigeria in 1999, the military has been engaged in different internal and regional security operations, protecting lives and property, paving way for uninterrupted democratic governance for 26 years.
Expert experiences in peacekeeping operations have enhanced our international standing and contributed to stability across West Africa.
As the Historical Society of Nigeria celebrates its 70th anniversary, showcasing the effort of the society in advancing history as an academic discipline and cultural embodiment, members of the society commend the non-kinetic approach of the armed forces.
These historical insights are not merely academic, they provide crucial understanding for addressing contemporary security challenges.
There are so many ways that the military has tried to, connect with the civil society and ensure that we appreciate what they do. So to a large extent, there is a civil-military relationship.
Our message to them is that they will continue to do what they've been doing to help the nation to stay together, and that the peace that we are experiencing already will continue.
The society presented a book titled Military Factor in Nigerian History, 1960 to 2018. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Now, the Nigerian Navy ship Pathfinder Port Harcourt says it has disconnected 2 wellheads used to siphon crude oil and destroyed 9 illegal refining sites in Ogba, Egbema, Ndoni local government area of River State. This was accomplished by the Nigerian Navy Tactical Riverine Assault Squadron team following credible intelligence indicating the first acts of economic sabotage in the area. Kingsley Amaduri has the details.
Nigerian Navy ship Pathfinder, in a statement signed by the commander, NNS Pathfinder Commodore Kajetan Anyako, the operation was conducted on May 12, 2025. The command deployed its personnel and assets to Onega, where it discovered 2 pipes that were connected to oil wellhead and used to siphon crude oil for illegal refining activities. 9 of these sites were also dismantled with 45 ovens and 30 reservoirs. About 60,000 liters of stolen crude, 80,000 liters of automotive gasoline oil AGO, and 33,000 liters of kerosene were recovered. The NNS Pathfinder says the products were handled in line with the operating procedure for anti-crude oil theft. Commodore Anyako reaffirms the Nigerian Navy Authority's commitment under the leadership of Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala to combating crude oil theft, illegal oil refining, and ensuring energy security for Nigeria. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Another break is due. Thank you for staying with us. President Tinubu has now approved the immediate implementation of the revised procurement thresholds for MDAs. This approval is based on the recommendation of the DG of the BPP to align with Mr. President's renewed hope agenda. The details of the implementation guidelines will be provided by the DG BPP, Dr. Adebowale Adedokun, in due course. Zamfara State Governor Daud Lawal has distributed 140 operational vehicles to various security agencies in the state to enhance their capacity to combat crime and maintain law and order. The distribution ceremony, which is part of a celebration of the governor's 2nd year anniversary in office, also marked the inauguration of 50 new transit buses labeled Zamfara, aimed at improving public transportation within and outside the state. Haliru Mohammed reports.
The 140 brand new vehicles commissioned by the Commandant General of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Abubakar Ahmad Audi, include double cabin pickup trucks and Buffalo vehicles distributed to the various security agencies operating in the state. Governor Dauda Lawal, who emphasized that providing operational vehicles to security agencies would significantly improve their mobility, response time, and effectiveness in combating crime, expressed his administration's commitment to prioritizing security and improving the lives of the citizens.
Your perseverance and untiring commitment to securing Zamfara State have not gone unnoticed, and today's event is a testament to our recognition of your invaluable service to our dear state.
We need to attack this quagmire head on by developing very, very formidable strategies of both kinetic and non-kinetic.
The event witnessed the unveiling of 50 new buses also provided by the Governor Dauda Law-led administration to enhance public transportation. In Gusau, Halliru Muhammad, NTA News.
The Federal Road Safety Corps has been recertified for ISO 9001-2015 Quality Management System Standards in Road Safety Administration and Traffic Management by the Standards Organization of Nigeria. This comes after a successful audit of FRSC processes and procedures of system auditors from Standards Organization of Nigeria, among other mandatory activities carried out towards the recertification of the Corps. While reacting to this, the Corps Marshal Shehu Mohammed said the recertification is a milestone that reflects the true disposition of the Corps as a determined organization that is committed to attaining excellence in all aspects of its operations and service delivery. According to him, the FRSA becomes the first and only law enforcement agency in Africa to achieve this rare feat. Let's pause again. Please remain tuned. All right, let's talk sports now. It's often said that there is ability and disability in Nigerian junior special athletes are demonstrating their resilience and passion to become Paralympians. Some of these promising, talented young athletes who hold national records at the National Youth Games have been called up to the national camp to test their might with senior para-athletes at the National Sports Festival in Ogun State. Austin Edemudu witnessed their training session as they share aspirations to fill the gaps of aging athletes.
New world record again on Nyechi Mark with 150 kilograms. Quite remarkable.
A dominant record in powerlifting that has taken Nigeria's medal haul in Paralympics to 80, including 40 gold medals, far more than the able-bodied athletes have produced. Arguably, most of these special athletes have reached the peak of their career, which calls for a new generation of special athletes to fill the vacuum, especially in the tracks and field events.
When you look at Jamaicans, they prepare the youth athletes to come and replace the old ones, which are not even active, but they force themselves to make team.
For instance, the gap left by T45 4600 meters and 200 meters legendary Adeoye Ajibola, who won 4 historic gold medals in Barcelona 1992 and Atlanta 96 in both 100 and 200 meters events, is yet to be filled. Could this 18-year-old talented T45 national junior champion Olawale Olnamide be the next to take the baton from Ajibola?
I already win at Delta State, collected good medal.
Here at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, he is among the junior para-athletes called to the national camp. For the first time, they will compete with the senior para-athletes at the National Sports Festival this month in Ogun State. How about 14-year-old national champion Uchenna Adendo, who holds the junior record in F42 discus throw? He is training alongside David Akinade, shot put gold winner at the National Youth Games in Asaba Delta State in 2024.
Training to be a champion and also doing things that requires to be a champion.
Competing at the highest level is the dream and aspirations of these new generations of special athletes who defy all odds to better their lives and add values to the society.
My goal is to try my best to win and be able to travel out with this sport, further my studies, make my parents proud.
Though managing these special athletes no doubt comes with much challenges, however, Their coaches know how to get the best out of these special athletes, even in difficult situations.
We should remember they are junior, they are upcoming. So different kind of behavior and attitude. So you have to find your own way how to go about winning them. The same way you are lecturing them or telling them you are doing wrong, conditioning them, the same hand too you used to pet them, so they will understand what you are really trying to say.
Call them future Paralympic champions. Why not? After all, investing in them today is investing in sustainable succession and future podium finishes for Nigerian athletes, while it is hoped that the National Sports Festival becomes the springboard to success for these para-athletes.
We wish the young athletes the very best. Don't get it twisted. Our sportsman Bade Adeleye is here and he has more sports news for us. Bade, take it away.
Many thanks, Sierra. All right, let's begin by letting you know that Super Eagles striker Victor Osimhen has won the Turkish Cup with Galatasaray and, of course, he netted 2 goals in their 3-0 victory over Trabzonspor earlier this evening. Osimhen scored in the 46th and 63rd minutes to lift his first trophy with the Turkish Giants.
Galatasaray'ın oluyor. Sezonun ilk kupası.
Moving on, the Flying Eagles camp is bubbling with confidence as players fight on preparations for the semi-final clash with South Africa's Amajita at the ongoing Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations in Egypt. Sports fans expect the Flying Eagles to overcome their opponents as they surge towards winning their 8th African title.
It's going to be easy for the Flying Eagles, but what is most important for us is the fact that we've picked the World Cup ticket. So the boys should go out there, enjoy them.
To a bit of athletics now. As the National Sports Festival in Ogun State approaches, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria is intensifying efforts to ensure that athletes compete clean at the Games. Towards this, an anti-doping education workshop was organized by the AFN in Abuja for all junior athletes who will feature in athletics events of the Games in order to expose them to the do's and don'ts of anti-doping. The interactive session, which had Dr. Paul Onyodo, a retired director of sports medicine at the National Sports Commission as a resource person, was also another step by Nigeria to exit the A-list of the Athletics Integrity Unit of World Athletics.
Comes into their body.
It is extremely important to get these ones at this, initial level to appreciate what it means to be top elite. Otherwise, they'll get into trouble.
I've learned to know the kind of medication I will take and also know the banned drugs.
There's no way of taking something that they won't find out. So if I see somebody like that, I'll run away.
That does it on Sports Tonight. Let's now return to Nyer.
Many thanks, Bade, for the updates. And that concludes News Extra tonight. Many thanks for investing your time with us. Let's do this again next Wednesday. I'm Henry.